The station floated alone in the dark space between star systems. It was old and tired, held together by repairs made over many years. Zethkari had inherited it from her father, who had inherited it from his mother before him. 3 generations of Valorians had lived and worked in this place, selling fuel and supplies to ships passing through the empty regions of space. Zethkari stood at the main window of her control room. Her blue skin reflected the light of distant stars. She had 4 arms, as all Valorians did, and she used 2 of them to hold a cup of warm drink while the other 2 typed on her console. The numbers on her screen were not good. They had not been good for many months now. Business was dying. The big corporations were building newer stations closer to the main trade routes. Ships no longer needed to come this far out. Each month, fewer customers arrived. Each month, her savings grew smaller. She was thinking about these problems when the alarm sounded. Something was approaching the station. She looked at her sensors and saw a ship coming toward her, but it was moving strangely. It wobbled and shook as it flew. Smoke or gas trailed behind it like blood from a wound. The communication system crackled with a weak voice. It was using the common galactic language, but the accent was strange to her. She had heard it only a few times before. "Station, please respond. This is the human vessel Morning Light. We need help, please." Humans. Zethkari knew very little about them. They were a young species, only recently arrived in the galaxy. They kept mostly to themselves in a small region of space far from here. She had met perhaps 3 or 4 in her entire life. She watched the ship get closer. It was in terrible condition. Parts of its hull were torn open. One of its engines was completely dark. It was a miracle the thing was still flying at all. "Human vessel, I see you," she responded. "What happened to you?" "Pirates," the voice said. There was pain in it. "They hit us 2 days ago. Took everything. Our cargo, our fuel reserves, our medical supplies. We have wounded crew. 3 dead. We made it this far on emergency power. Please. We have nothing to pay you with. But we need help." Zethkari closed her eyes. She knew what she should do. The smart thing. The safe thing. Her station was struggling. She could not afford to give away supplies for free. The Galactic Commerce Guild had rules about unpaid services. If she helped these humans and reported it, she would face fines. If she helped them and did not report it, she would face worse. And yet, she opened her eyes and looked at the broken ship again. Inside that metal shell were living beings. They were hurt. They were scared. They had come to her because they had nowhere else to go. "Human vessel Morning Light," she said. "You are cleared to dock at Base 7. I will have medical supplies ready when you arrive." There was silence on the other end. Then the voice spoke again, and this time it was shaking. "Thank you. Thank you so much. We won't forget this." The ship limped into her docking bay 20 minutes later. Zethkari was waiting with her small medical robot and 2 containers of basic supplies. When the ship's door opened, smoke poured out. Then came the humans. She had forgotten how strange they looked. Only 2 arms. Soft skin in various shades of brown and pink. Hair on their heads in different colors. They moved awkwardly in the station's gravity, which was set for Valorian comfort. The first one out was clearly their leader. He was tall for a human, with gray in his hair and deep lines on his face. His left arm was wrapped in bloody cloth. Behind him came others, some walking, some being carried. "I'm Captain Marcus Cole," the man said. He extended his uninjured hand toward her, and she remembered that humans did this as a greeting. She took his hand in one of hers and felt how warm human skin was. "I am Zethkari," she said, "owner of this station. Bring your wounded inside. My medical robot is basic, but it can help with most injuries. For the next several hours, Zethkari worked alongside the humans. She learned their names. There was Sarah, the engineer, whose leg was badly burned. There was young Thomas, barely an adult, who had lost his first crewmates and could not stop crying. There was old Maria, who had been a doctor before becoming a trader and who directed the medical robot with expert skill. She learned that the Morning Light had been carrying farming equipment to a new human colony. The pirates had taken everything, even things they could not use. They had killed for sport, not just for profit. Captain Cole worked harder than anyone despite his injury. He helped carry the wounded. He cleaned the blood from his ship's floors. He thanked Zethkari every time she brought more supplies when the worst was over and his crew was resting. He came to find her in the control room. His face was gray with exhaustion. "I need to pay you for this," he said. "I know I said we have nothing, but there must be something. Our ship's navigation core is valuable. It's old, but it works. Take it as payment." Zethkari looked at him. She thought about her empty accounts. She thought about the fines she would face. She thought about her dying station. Then she thought about young Thomas crying for his dead friends. She thought about the fear in Sarah's eyes as the medical robot worked on her leg. She thought about the 3 bodies still in the Morning Light's cargo hold, waiting for proper burial. "No," she said. "Keep your navigation core. You will need it to get home. But consider it a gift between travelers," she said. "The universe is hard enough. Sometimes we must be soft to each other." Marcus Cole stared at her for a long moment. His eyes, which she now knew were called blue, became wet. Humans did this when they felt strong emotions. He reached out and took her hand again, holding it between both of his. "I won't forget this," he said. "Humans don't forget. Someday, somehow, I will repay you. I swear it." Zethkari smiled, though she did not really believe him. How could he repay her? He was a broken captain of a broken ship, limping home to his own problems. She would never see him again. "Just survive," she said. "That is enough." 2 days later, the Morning Light departed. Its repairs were rough, but enough to reach human space. Zethkari watched it disappear into the darkness, then turned back to her empty station. She had lost money she could not afford to lose. She had broken rules that would bring her trouble. She had helped strangers who could never help her in return. And somehow, despite everything, she felt good about it. 3 galactic cycles passed. Each one was harder than the last. Zethkari watched her station die slowly. Fewer ships came each month. The big corporations built their shiny new stations, and the old routes through her sector became empty roads that no one traveled anymore. Then the syndicate came. The syndicate was not just one corporation. It was many, joined together like a great beast with many heads. They owned stations, ships, fuel refineries, and trade routes across 100 star systems. They were always hungry for more. A syndicate representative visited Zethkari on a cold morning. He was a Kethrol, a species known for their love of money and their hatred of competition. His scales were polished to a shine, and his suit cost more than Zethkari earned in a year. "We wish to purchase your station," he said, not bothering with polite greetings. "Here is our offer." He showed her the number on his datapad. It was an insult. The offer would barely cover her debts. She would walk away with nothing after 3 generations of her family's work. "No," she said. The representative's eyes narrowed. "You should reconsider. The offer will not improve." I said no. This is my home. It is not for sale. He left without another word, but Zethkari knew it was not over. The syndicate did not accept rejection. They found other ways to get what they wanted. The problems began within weeks. Suddenly, Trade ships that had always stopped at her station began going elsewhere. When she asked why, they gave weak excuses. Bad timing, different routes, new contracts. Then the inspectors came. They found problems with her fuel storage that had never existed before. They discovered safety issues that appeared overnight. Each problem meant fines. Each fine drained her accounts further. Rumors spread through the trading networks. Sefkari's fuel was bad quality. Her repairs were unsafe. Her station was failing. None of it was true, but truth did not matter. The syndicate controlled too many voices. By the end of the second year, Sefkari was alone. Her few employees had left to find work elsewhere. Her accounts were nearly empty. She sat in her control room each day, watching the empty space outside, waiting for ships that never came. She began to think about the end. Not death, but departure. She could sell what remained, pay her debts, and leave this sector forever. She could find work on some other station, serving customers for someone else. The thought made her heart ache, but what choice did she have? On a night when she had nearly made up her mind to quit, the sensors screamed ships, many ships, dropping out of hyperspace all around her station. Sefkari's hands shook as she tried to identify them. Were they syndicate? Had they finally decided to take what she would not sell? Would they force her out or simply destroy her? The ships were not syndicate. They were human. She counted them with growing disbelief. 12, 20, 37. Freighters and cargo haulers. Supply vessels and tankers. And at the center, larger than the rest, a ship bearing the flag of the Terran Merchant Marine. Her communication system lit up with an incoming message. "Station owner Sefkari," said a voice she had never expected to hear again. "This is Fleet Commander Marcus Cole of the Terran Merchant Marine, requesting permission to dock." She could not speak. Her throat had closed up. Her eyes burned with tears she had not shed in many months. "Sefkari," Marcus said again, his voice softer now. "I told you I would not forget." She found her voice somehow. "Permission granted. All ships, welcome to my station." The next hour was chaos. Human ships filled every docking bay. Humans poured into her station, carrying boxes and equipment. They smiled at her, waved at her, and thanked her for things she did not understand. Then Marcus Cole stood before her. He was older now, with more gray in his hair and new scars on his face. But his eyes were the same. That same blue. That same determination. "You saved my crew," he said. "You gave us everything when we had nothing. You asked for nothing in return. I have spent 3 years making sure I could repay that debt." He handed her a datapad. She looked at the screen and could not understand what she was seeing. Trade contracts, fuel supply agreements, shipping routes, exclusive deals with 17 human colonies. Her station would be the primary supply point for all human traffic through this sector. The numbers were enormous. The numbers would make her wealthy. "I do not understand," she whispered. "How?" Marcus smiled. "I told people your story. I told them what you did for us. Word spread. Humans talk to each other, Sefkari. We share stories. We remember who helped us when we were bleeding and broken. And we remember who turned us away." He gestured to the humans moving through her station. "These people never met you, but they know your name. They know what you did for the morning light. When I said I was organizing a trade fleet to support your station, volunteers appeared from 9 different colonies. They want to be part of this." Sefkari looked around her. A human woman was cleaning years of dust from the windows. A human man was repairing a broken light that had flickered for months. Children, human children with their strange small bodies and loud laughter, were running through the corridors as if the station was already their home. "There is more," Marcus said. He pointed to a document on the datapad. A mutual defense agreement. Your station is now under the protection of the Terran Collective. Any attack on you is considered an attack on human territory. But why? Zethkari asked. I am not human. This is not your space. Why would you do so much for a stranger? Marcus took her hand, just as he had done 3 years ago. Because you were not a stranger when we needed you. You could have turned this away. It would have been the smart thing, the safe thing. But you chose to help. You chose to be kind when kindness cost you everything. He squeezed her hand gently. Humans do not forget kindness, Zethkari. We do not forget cruelty either. But kindness, true kindness with no expectation of reward, that we remember forever. And we always pay it back. Zethkari finally let the tears fall. She had held them inside for so long. 3 years of struggle. 3 years of loneliness. 3 years of watching everything she loved die slowly. And now, because she had helped a broken ship full of strangers, she was surrounded by friends she had never met but who loved her anyway. Thank you, she said. And the words were not enough, but Marcus seemed to understand. No, he said. Thank you. Thank you. For teaching us that the galaxy has good people in it. For reminding us why we explore the stars. Outside, more human ships were arriving. The word had spread. The story had traveled. A Valorian woman had helped humans in their darkest hour, and now humans from across the galaxy were coming to help her in return. The Syndicate would learn, very soon, that they had made a terrible mistake. The Syndicate was not happy. They were not happy at all. In the weeks after the human fleet arrived, Zethkari's station transformed. What had been a dying outpost became a busy hub of activity. Human ships came and went constantly. Trade goods flowed through her docking bays. Credits filled her accounts. Laughter filled her corridors. The Syndicate representative returned. His polished scales did not shine quite so bright this time. His expensive suit seemed less impressive, surrounded by cheerful humans carrying cargo boxes. This is unacceptable, he hissed at Zethkari. You have made agreements without consulting the proper authorities. You have violated sector trade regulations. I have done nothing wrong, Zethkari interrupted. She stood taller now. She had friends behind her. The galactic trade laws allow any station owner to make independent agreements with any species. Check the regulations yourself. The representative's eyes darted around the room. Humans had stopped their work to watch the conversation. They did not speak, but their presence was a message. You are outnumbered here. The Syndicate will not forget this insult, the representative said. There will be consequences. He left quickly after that. Zethkari watched him go, and for the first time in years, she was not afraid, but she should have been more careful. 3 weeks later, the sensors detected a new fleet approaching. These ships were not human. They were not Syndicate either, at least not officially. They were mercenaries, hired soldiers, who worked for whoever paid them. 40 warships, armed with weapons that could tear Zethkari's station apart in minutes. Marcus Cole stood beside her in the control room as they watched the fleet approach. His face was grim but not afraid. The Syndicate, he said. They cannot attack you themselves without breaking galactic law. So they hired someone else to do their dirty work. What do we do? Zethkari asked. Your trade ships are not warships. We cannot fight them. Marcus smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who knew something others did not. We do not need to fight them ourselves. We just need to wait. Wait for what? He pointed at the communication console. May I? Zethkari nodded, confused. Marcus pressed a button and began to speak. His voice was calm, almost casual. This is Fleet Commander Marcus Cole of the Terran Merchant Marine, broadcasting on all open frequencies. We have hostile warships approaching a protected station, requesting assistance from any human vessels in range. Zethkari stared at him. There are no other human vessels. Your fleet is the only one in this sector. In this sector, yes, Marcus said. But humans are everywhere, Zethkari. And we all listen to the same frequencies. They waited. The mercenary fleet drew closer. 1 hour, 2 hours. The mercenary commander sent a message demanding surrender. Marcus did not respond. Then the sensors screamed again. More ships were arriving. Not from one direction, but from many. They dropped out of hyperspace in groups of 2, 3, 10. Zethkari watched the numbers climb with growing amazement. 50 ships, 70, 100. They were human ships, but not military vessels. She saw mining ships with their heavy hulls and powerful engines. She saw passenger liners with their elegant designs. She saw cargo freighters, science vessels, construction platforms, and dozens of other types she could not identify. And every single one was heading toward her station. Marcus was smiling for real now. I told you. We remember who helped us. Your story traveled far, Zethkari. Miners on the outer rim know your name. Colonists on the frontier know what you did for the morning light. When they heard you were in danger, they came. But these are not warships, Zethkari said. They cannot fight. They do not need to fight. They just need to be here. The mercenary commander sent another message. This time, his voice was less confident. Human vessels, you are interfering with licensed security operations. Disperse immediately or face consequences. A response came from one of the mining ships. The speaker was an older human woman with a rough voice. Licensed security operations, my left foot. We know who you work for, and we know what you are here to do. That station is under our protection. Another voice joined in, from a passenger liner. The Terran Colonial Authority has been notified. So has Earth Central. So has the Galactic Council. Whatever you do here, the whole galaxy will know about it. More voices. More ships. They surrounded the station in a great protective shell, placing themselves between the mercenaries and their target. The mercenary commander tried again. You are civilians. You cannot stop us. Maybe not, the mining woman replied. But you will have to go through us to reach that station. And every ship you destroy will be recorded. Every death will be documented. The galaxy will see exactly what kind of people a syndicate really is. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Zethkari understood now. The humans were not fighting with weapons. They were fighting with witnesses. They were using their own bodies as shields, daring the mercenaries to commit murder in front of the entire galaxy. The mercenary commander did the math. He calculated the cost of attacking. He imagined the consequences. He thought about what would happen when the recordings reached the Galactic Council. 20 minutes later, his fleet turned around and left. Zethkari collapsed into her chair. Her whole body was shaking. They came, she whispered. All of them. They risked their lives for me. Why? Most of them never met me. I am nothing to them. Marcus knelt beside her. His voice was gentle. You are wrong. You are not nothing. You are the woman who helped humans when you had no reason to. You are the woman who chose kindness over profit. That makes you one of us. He took her hand, just as he had done twice before. I tried to explain this to you, but I do not think you understood. When you are good to a human, you are not just helping one person. You are joining a family. A very large, very stubborn, very protective family. Outside, the human ships were celebrating. Messages flew back and forth, full of laughter and congratulations. Strangers who had never met were bonding over shared purpose. They had come from across the galaxy to protect someone they only knew from stories, and they had won without firing a single shot. This is insane, Zethkari said. No species behaves this way. Humans do, Marcus said. We are pack animals, Zethkari. We evolved in groups. We survived because we protected each other. That instinct never went away. It just grew larger. Now our pack includes anyone who proves they deserve to be in it. He stood up and looked out the window at the gathered fleet. You proved it 3 years ago, when you helped a broken ship full of strangers. Today, the pack proved it back. Zethkari watched the human ships floating peacefully around her station. She thought about the Syndicate, about the mercenaries, about all the forces that had tried to destroy her. They had failed. Not because of weapons or money or political power. They had failed because one act of kindness had rippled outward, touching lives she never knew existed, until an entire civilization rose up to say, "This one is ours." You cannot have her. She finally understood what humans meant when they said they never forgot. They really, truly meant it. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, everyone knew the story. A Syndicate mercenary fleet had been turned away by unarmed civilian ships. A small station in empty space had become untouchable. And humans, those strange young creatures from a small blue planet, had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before. The Galactic Council took notice. The Council was ancient. It had governed interstellar law for 10,000 years. Its members were the oldest and wisest species in the known universe. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched young species stumble into space, burn bright for a few centuries, and then fade away. Humans were supposed to be nothing special. They had only achieved space travel a few hundred years ago. They controlled a tiny region of the galaxy. Their technology was average, their military was small, and their influence was limited. But something had happened at Zethkari Station that the Council did not understand. And the Council did not like things it did not understand. They sent investigators. The lead investigator was named Crystallax. He was a being made of living crystal, ancient beyond human comprehension. His species had been exploring the galaxy when humans were still living in caves. He had studied thousands of civilizations and believed. He understood everything about how intelligent beings behaved. He was wrong. Crystalllax arrived at Zethkari Station with a team of observers. The humans welcomed them politely, but with obvious suspicion. The Galactic Council had not always been friendly to young species. "We are here to study, not to judge," Crystalllax assured them. "We want to understand what happened here. Nothing more." Over the following weeks, he interviewed dozens of people. He spoke with Zethkari about her decision to help the Morning Light. He spoke with Marcus Cole about organizing the trade fleet. He spoke with the captains who had come to protect the station, asking each one the same question: "Why did you come?" The answers confused him. A mining captain from the Outer Rim said, "I heard the story from a friend." He heard it from a trader who passed through our sector. When the call went out that she was in danger, I did not even think about it. I just came. "But you risked your life," Crystalllax said. "You risked your ship. For someone you had never met." "She helped our people when she did not have to," the captain replied. "That makes her one of us." A passenger liner captain said something similar. "I had 300 civilians on my ship. I could have stayed away. But what kind of person would I be if I did that? She was good to humans. How could I not be good to her?" A young freighter pilot, barely old enough to command his own ship, gave the simplest answer. "It was the right thing to do. What else matters?" Crystalllax recorded everything. He analyzed the data. He compared human behavior to every other species in his vast database. Nothing matched. Most species formed alliances based on mutual benefit. Trade agreements, military pacts, political arrangements. Everything was calculated. Everything had a price. Humans were different. They formed bonds based on emotion, on story, on shared experience. A human who had never met Zethkari felt connected to her because another human had told her story. That connection was enough to make them risk their lives. "This is unprecedented," Crystalax told his team. "They have created a network of loyalty that transcends economics, politics, and even species. Help a human, and you are not gaining one ally. You are tapping into an entire civilization." His assistant, a younger member of his species, asked the obvious question. "Is this dangerous?" Crystalax considered. Humans were not aggressive by nature. They did not seek conquest or domination. Their expansion through the galaxy had been slow and peaceful. "It could be," he admitted. "Any species capable of this level of coordination could become very powerful very quickly. But I do not think that is their intent." "What is their intent?" Crystalax thought about the interviews. The mining captain who came because it was right. The liner captain who could not stay away. The young pilot who did not even question his decision. "I think," he said slowly, "they simply cannot help themselves. This behavior is not strategy. It is instinct. They protect their pack, and anyone who earns their trust becomes part of that pack." He wrote his report carefully. The Galactic Council needed to understand what humans really were. Not a threat to be contained. Not a resource to be exploited. Something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. He called it reciprocal loyalty networks. The formal name spread through academic circles and governmental offices. Scientists debated its implications. Politicians worried about its consequences. But the common people of the galaxy, the traders and travelers who actually interacted with humans, understood more simply be good to a human. They will never forget. The report changed things. Species that had ignored humans began paying attention. Traders who had avoided human space started making new routes. Diplomats who had dismissed humanity as unimportant requested meetings with human leaders. The Syndicate quietly dropped all claims on Zethkari's sector. Their mercenaries were not willing to work against humans anymore. The risk was too great. Attack one human, and you might face millions. Crystalax visited Zethkari one last time before leaving. She was busy now, her station full of life and activity. Human children played in corridors that had once been empty. Traders from a dozen species passed through her docking bays. "I have one more question," Crystalax said. "When you helped the Morning Light, did you expect any of this?" Zethkari laughed. It was a warm sound, full of genuine joy. "Of course not. I expected nothing. I helped them because they needed help. That is all. And yet you received more than you could have imagined." Yes, she looked around at her thriving station, at the humans who had become her family. "But I would have done the same thing even if none of this had happened." That is the part your report does not explain. The part you cannot measure with data. What part is that? Zethkari smiled. Kindness is its own reward. Everything else is just extra. Crystalax considered her words. In all his centuries of study, he had rarely heard such simple wisdom. He added it to his report, though he suspected his fellow council members would not understand. Some things could not be explained. They could only be felt. As his ship departed, Crystalax looked back at the little station floating in empty space. It had been nothing special once. Now it was a symbol, a reminder that the galaxy was changing in ways the ancient species had not predicted. The humans were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest or the oldest or the most advanced. But they had something no one else had. They had each other. And anyone who was good to them, for the first time in many centuries, Crystalax felt something he had not expected. He felt hope. 10 years had passed since the day a broken human ship limped into Zethkari's docking bay. The station was unrecognizable now. It had grown 10 times its original size. New sections spread outward like branches of a great tree, docking bays that could hold 100 ships, living quarters for thousands of permanent residents, schools, hospitals, markets, and parks filled with plants from a dozen different worlds. Zethkari stood at the window of her office, watching the endless flow of traffic. Human ships and alien vessels moved together in careful harmony. A Valorian freighter passed a human passenger liner. A Kethral trading ship docked beside a human cargo hauler. Species that had once ignored each other now worked side by side. Her blue skin had paled with age. Her movements were slower than they had been, but her eyes were bright and her heart was full. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she said. A group of young Valorians walked in. There were 8 of them, all students from the Merchant Academy on her homeworld. They had traveled far to meet her, to learn from the woman whose story had changed everything. "Welcome," Zethkari said, gesturing for them to sit. "I understand you want to know how to build relationships with humans." The students nodded eagerly. Their teacher, an older Valorian named Dexkal, had warned them that Zethkari was not like other business leaders. She did not think in terms of profit margins and market shares. She thought in terms of people. "Tell us the secret," one student said. He was young and ambitious, his scales polished to a shine that reminded Zethkari of the syndicate representative who had visited so long ago. "How did you get humans to give you everything? What strategy did you use?" Zethkari smiled. She had heard this question many times over the years. Species from across the galaxy had come to study her success. They wanted formulas, techniques, step-by-step instructions they could follow to achieve the same results. They were always disappointed. "There is no secret," she said. "There is no strategy. I helped beings who needed help. That is all." The young student frowned. "But the return on investment was incredible. You must have calculated." "I calculated nothing," Zethkari interrupted gently. "When Captain Cole's ship arrived at my station, I did not think about returns or investments. I saw people who were hurt and afraid. I saw lives that would end if I did not act. So I acted." She walked to a different window, one that overlooked the garden dome. Below, human children played with young Valorians. Their laughter drifted up through the air recyclers, mixing with the songs of imported birds. "That is the part you cannot teach," she continued. "The calculations come later. First, you must actually care. You must look at a stranger and see a person, not an opportunity. You must help because helping is right, not because you expect reward." Another student, quieter than the first, raised her hand. "But how do you know if the help will be returned?" Humans remember kindness, but not all species do. What if you help someone who takes everything and gives nothing back? Zethkari nodded. It was a fair question. Then you have lost some resources. That is the risk. But consider the alternative. If you only help people when you are certain of reward, you help no one. Your heart becomes hard. Your life becomes small. She returned to her chair and sat down heavily. Age was catching up with her, though she tried not to show it. I have been wealthy now for many years. I could buy almost anything I want. But the things that matter most cannot be bought. The friendship of Marcus Cole's grandson, who commands a patrol vessel and visits me every month. The trust of the human colonists who treat this station as a second home. The love of children who have grown up here, who call me grandmother in 3 different languages. Her voice softened. These things came to me not because I was clever or strategic. They came because I was kind when kindness was difficult. Because I gave when I had little to give. Because I chose to see strangers as potential friends instead of potential threats. The ambitious young student seemed frustrated. But surely there must be some technique. Some approach that increases the likelihood of "you are not listening," Zethkari said, and her voice carried the weight of her years. You want to manipulate humans. You want to use kindness as a tool to get what you want. It does not work that way. Humans can tell the difference between genuine help and calculated investment. They always know. She leaned forward, meeting the young man's eyes. If you help a human while secretly expecting reward, you will receive nothing. They will sense your intentions, and they will walk away. But if you help a human with an open heart, truly caring about their well-being, they will remember you forever. The room was silent. Some of the students seemed disappointed. Others seemed thoughtful. The quiet one who had asked about risk was nodding slowly, understanding something the others had not grasped. The galaxy is changing, Zethkari said. The old ways, the ways of calculation and competition, are fading. Humans are teaching us something new. They are showing us that trust can be more powerful than contracts. That loyalty can be more valuable than gold. That kindness, genuine kindness, creates bonds that cannot be broken. She gestured toward the window again. Look outside. Do you see enemies? Do you see species fighting for dominance? No. You see cooperation. You see friendship. You see a future that was built not on strategy, but on simple human decency. The students looked. They saw what she described. A Valorian engineer helping a human technician repair a docking clamp. A human doctor treating a Kethril child's scraped knee. Species that had once ignored each other, now working together, living together, building something together. This is my legacy, Zethkari said. Not the station, not the wealth, not the trade agreements. This is what matters. This is what will last long after I am gone. Later, as the students were leaving, the quiet one stayed behind. I think I understand, she said. You are saying that the secret is not to have a secret. The technique is not to have a technique. Just be good to people and let the rest happen. Zethkari took the young woman's hands in her own. Yes, that is exactly what I am saying. Be good to a human, not for what you might receive, but because they are worth it. Because kindness is always worth it. Outside, another ship was requesting docking permission. Another chance to start the cycle again. Another opportunity to plant seeds of kindness that might bloom years in the future, thought the quiet student left to rejoin her group. Zethkari watched her go, hoping that at least one of them had truly understood. The galaxy was slowly learning what humans had always known. What Zethkari had learned on that day, so many years ago, when she had opened her docking bay to a broken ship full of strangers. Kindness compounds. Trust multiplies. Love grows, and humans never, ever forget who was kind first. Zethkari smiled and went back to her window. The stars were bright. The station was full. And somewhere out there, in the endless darkness of space, another act of kindness was happening right now. She could feel it. The galaxy was healing, one good deed at a time.